He was responsible for Diddy's day-to-day life, so he is able to provide a lot of information about what that life was like. He goes into detail on extensive drug use.
And in their complaint, Diddy's attorneys were saying that NBC Universal made the assumption that their client has committed numerous heinous crimes, including serial murder, R of minors, and S trafficking of minors.
All right, here we go. Buckle up, because this is the kind of story that grabs you by the collar and doesn't let go. Picture this: a high-ranking executive, someone who's been in the inner circle of one of the most powerful figures in entertainment for over a decade, is suddenly thrust into the limelight, not for her achievements, but for the darker, murkier allegations swirling around her former boss. Yes, we're talking about Christina Korman, the woman Sean Diddy Combs himself once called his right hand.
This is the first time that I'm speaking about it. Something that I'll never forget, actually.
Now, let's set the stage. For years, Christina wasn't just a behind-the-scenes assistant. She was the person making sure that everything in Diddy's world, whether it was a multi-million-dollar deal or his morning coffee, was running smoothly. To hear him tell it in a 2021 social media post, she was more than just an employee. "KK keeps everything in my life and my business running," he wrote, casually referring to her by her nickname as though she were family. "She's been my right hand for the last 8 years and has consistently proven to execute and get things done. Don't know how I'd function without her." Imagine being so crucial to someone's life that they publicly admit they can't operate without you. That's the level of trust and influence we're talking about here.
Actually, I want you to listen to this description, because there is a whole section of that complaint dedicated to Christina Korum, where Rodney Jones basically makes the allegation that Christina Korum is the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs' Jeffrey Epstein. That's what it says. And of course, we know that she has been the associate of deceased financier Jeffrey Epstein, who ended up getting convicted of sex trafficking charges, sentenced to 20 years in prison.
But fast forward a few years, and that same trust is now under a microscope. The headlines are brutal, the accusations even more so. Christina has been called a lot of things lately, but the one that keeps popping up: the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs' Jeffrey Epstein. Let that sink in for a moment. That's not just a throwaway comparison. It's loaded with implications, painting her as an enabler, a co-conspirator, someone who allegedly helped facilitate some of the most jaw-dropping claims we've seen in entertainment history. And now, after months of silence, Christina has finally spoken out.
And I know you said he explained all of the items that were involved in these Wild King nights. Did he mention who would participate as well?
A lot of them were unknown to him. He did mention that a lot of the women were very, very young as 20, not underage, but certainly young women.
In a statement released to Rolling Stone, she broke her silence, addressing the swirling allegations directly. "For months, horrific accusations have been made about me in various lawsuits regarding my former boss," she said. "These false allegations of my involvement are causing irreparable and incalculable damage to my reputation and the emotional well-being of myself and my family." It's a strong opener, one that immediately positions her as the victim of what she's calling an orchestrated smear campaign. And let's be honest, the stakes couldn't be higher, not just for her, but for everyone involved in this unfolding drama.
Did Phil explain why he's speaking out now?
He said he's speaking out because he believes Diddy's a predator. He wants accountability, and he doesn't want someone like this to run unchecked in the future.
She goes on to say, "I have never condoned or aided and abetted the mistreatment of anyone, nor have I ever provided substances to anyone." Her words are carefully chosen, almost clinical, as though she's speaking more to a court of law than to the court of public opinion. But the real kicker, the idea that I could be accused of playing a role in, or even being a bystander to, any form of harm toward another person is beyond upsetting, disturbing, and unthinkable. She's not just denying the claims. She's painting them as so far removed from her character that the very notion of them, in her words, is unthinkable. But let's pause for a second and consider the timing of all this. Why now? Why speak out after months of silence, especially when the lawsuits have been piling up for a while? Some say it's a strategic move, designed to get ahead of any potential fallout as her name becomes more entangled in the legal mess. Others speculate that this could be her way of distancing herself from Combs entirely, especially as his criminal trial looms. Whatever the reason, her statement has thrown a spotlight on her in a way that's as fascinating as it is controversial.
A lot of times you have him with a younger female, and there's a power dynamic there. A more impressionable girl is easier to reel in. Consent is between the people that are engaging, and I wasn't there in these situations to understand the consent.
And let's be real, this isn't just about Christina's statement. This is about what that statement represents. By speaking up, she's essentially stepping into the ring, whether she likes it or not. And in doing so, she's opened the door to a flood of questions. Is she truly innocent, as she claims? Or is this just damage control, a last-ditch effort to salvage her reputation before things get worse? And if she's innocent, what does that say about the broader allegations against Diddy? Are they being exaggerated, or is there more to the story than we've been told?
In the moment, it just felt like, what? Like, is this fun for him? Is this like a test?
This is where things get even murkier. Christina's statement comes at a time when multiple lawsuits have painted a damning picture of life inside Diddy's orbit. Plaintiffs have described a kind of toxic ecosystem where employees were allegedly coerced to doing things that went far beyond their job descriptions. And in many of these lawsuits, Christina's name keeps coming up. She's been accused of everything from turning a blind eye to actively facilitating some of the most shocking claims against her former boss. One lawsuit even alleges that she required employees to carry bags stocked with all sorts of illicit items, claiming it was part of their job to be prepared for anything. Then there's the infamous Wild King Nights, a phrase that has become shorthand for some of the most outrageous allegations against Diddy. According to former employees, these were chaotic days-long events that often left hotel rooms in what one person described as wreckage. And who was allegedly responsible for coordinating all of this chaos? You guessed it, Christina. One former assistant even claimed that she would be the one to alert staff when Diddy was gearing up for one of these nights, sending them scrambling to prepare everything from candles to mood lighting. The same assistant also alleged that Christina was the one who would inform him when it was all over, tasking staff with cleaning up the aftermath.
Well, I think it's heating up, and I think she has to make that statement at this point because a lot of people are making accusations. I'm sure there's an issue in terms of the federal investigation and what's going on with the federal investigation and if they're going to be interviewing her or using her as a witness. So my belief is all those things are coming to a head.
But here's where it gets really complicated. Christina's role wasn't just limited to logistics, according to the lawsuits. She's also accused of downplaying complaints from employees who felt uncomfortable or unsafe. In one particularly shocking claim, a former producer allegedly told Christina about an incident involving Diddy that crossed every imaginable line. Her response, Sean will be Sean. That phrase alone has become a kind of shorthand for the culture of silence and complicity that some say existed within Calm's empire.
In normal trafficking cases, you think of something a lot different than those accusations. And I do believe that she didn't know the details of everything that was going on. I don't really find it plausible to believe that she didn't know anything was going on.
And yet, Christina insists she's innocent. She claims she was just another employee, doing her job, and that the allegations against her are nothing more than an attempt to drag her down alongside her former boss. But if that's true, why are so many people pointing the finger at her? Is it possible that she's being scapegoated, a convenient target for those looking to take down someone higher up the food chain? Or is she, as some have suggested, an integral part of the very system that allowed these alleged abuses to occur?
With some kind of statement, I don't see this statement hurting or helping her. It's one of those innocuous statements that's essentially like, let's wait and see how things turn out. I'm going to be vindicated. That's kind of the standard when it comes to these statements that are made and the individual that are stating it. It's just, like I said, I think the heat is starting to be turned up on a lot of these different cases, criminal and civil.
One thing's for sure, Christina's statement has added another layer of intrigue to an already tangled web, and while she may be hoping to clear her name, her decision to speak out has only raised more questions. For instance, will she be called as a witness in Diddy's upcoming trial? And if so, what will she say? Will she double down on her claims of innocence, or will she turn on her former boss in an attempt to save herself? These are the kinds of questions that keep people glued to their screens, refreshing their feeds for the latest updates. And let's not forget the broader implications of all this. Christina isn't just fighting for her reputation. She's fighting for her reputation. She's fighting for her future. If these allegations stick, her career in the entertainment industry could be over. But if she manages to clear her name, she could emerge as a kind of whistleblower, someone who stood up against a powerful figure and lived to tell the tale. Either way, her story is far from over. And as the lawsuits continue to pile up, one thing's clear: the world will be watching.
Okay, so do you believe a statement like this, and given the allegations against her, does this give you a clue about her potential role in this criminal case? In other words, do you think she could be called as a witness by either the prosecution or the defense?
Yeah, I couldn't imagine any universe where she's not called as a witness by either the defense or the prosecution. If someone is...
So here's the real question. Can Christina Corman's carefully crafted statement actually shield her from the storm that's brewing? Or has she just poured gasoline on a fire that was already threatening to consume her? Because let's be honest, if there's one thing people love more than a scandal, it's a scandal with layers, twists, turns, and the kind of behind-the-scenes drama that keeps you awake at night scrolling for updates. And Christina, whether she likes it or not, has become one of the most talked about players in a story that might just be one of the most explosive sagas in entertainment history. Let's dive into the lawsuits because, wow, they are something else. First up, we have Rodney Lil Rod Jones Jr., a producer who worked closely with Diddy on his 2023 album, the Love album, Off the Grid. Now, Jones isn't pulling any punches. He's gone on record comparing Christina to, you guessed it, Ghislaine Maxwell, claiming that she wasn't just a passive observer, but an active participant in a system designed to control people and allegedly cater to Diddy's most outrageous whims. And Jones doesn't stop there. According to him, Christina allegedly brushed off his complaints about inappropriate behavior, chalking it up to Diddy's quirky personality. You know, Sean will be Sean, she reportedly told him. That's the kind of line that stops you in your tracks, isn't it? It's casual, almost dismissive, but it speaks volumes about the culture of silence that multiple people are now accusing Diddy's inner circle of perpetuating.
The next suit is filed by a man from California who claims Sean Combs raped him in 2009.
But wait, there's more. Jones' lawsuit alleges that Christina was directly involved in managing Diddy's world of excess, allegedly orchestrating the logistics for events that some might describe as chaotic and unrestrained. Think hotel suites transformed into elaborate stages for days-long celebrations, all allegedly overseen by Christina to ensure every detail was handled. Jones even claims that Christina instructed staff to carry around small bags filled with, let's just say, party supplies, ready to cater to any need or request that might arise. And if that sounds like something out of a Hollywood script, it's because it almost feels too outrageous to be real. But here's the thing. The allegations keep piling up, and Christina's name keeps coming up.
And every day I'm working on that case. Every day we're figuring something out. Every day we're talking to investigators. And that's essentially what Alex did on this case.
Then we have Phil Pines, another former assistant whose claims only add fuel to the fire. Pines alleges that Christina was not only aware of everything going on, but that she actively worked to ensure the inner workings of Diddy's world remain a tightly guarded secret. According to Pines, Christina once told him to keep quiet about an incident he witnessed, warning him of repercussions if he didn't. Repercussions? That's not just a subtle nudge. That's a full-on red flag waving in your face. Pines also claims he was tasked with the unenviable job of cleaning up after what he described as Diddy's wild nights, and from the sound of it, these were no ordinary celebrations. We're talking about scenarios that left hotel rooms in such disarray that Pines said he'd cringe at the memory of them.
I believe that it opens yourself up to some negligence claims. Again, I don't know if Jay-Z is going to go that far, but certainly I think it does open himself up to some negligence claims. Maybe that was part of the reason why he dismissed with prejudice. I don't know.
And here's where it gets even more complicated. Pines isn't just accusing Christina of turning a blind eye. He's painting her as someone who allegedly played a central role in maintaining the illusion of normalcy around Diddy's lifestyle. Whether it was managing staff or allegedly arranging for certain guests to be present at events, Pines claims Christina was always in the background, pulling the strings. And the lawsuits don't stop there. Another plaintiff, a woman from San Francisco, has named Christina in her legal complaint, alleging that she was threatened before a deeply unsettling incident that she claims occurred. Christina has, of course, denied all these allegations, but the sheer number of accusations raises questions that are impossible to ignore.
Now, this particular defense attorney's reason for quitting wasn't really a reason at all, making his departure a lot more puzzling.
Now, let's talk about the timing of Christina's statement, because that's where things get really interesting. Why come forward now, after months of silence? Some observers believe her statement is a calculated move, perhaps even a preemptive strike to distance herself from the increasingly damning allegations against Diddy. Others speculate that Christina might be preparing to testify in Diddy's upcoming criminal trial, a move that could either help or harm her depending on how things play out. If she does take the stand, her testimony could be pivotal. After all, as someone who worked so closely with Diddy for so many years, Christina likely knows where all the proverbial skeletons are buried. The question is, will she reveal them? And let's not forget the broader implications here. Christina's decision to speak out has put her in a precarious position. On one hand, she's trying to clear her name and protect her reputation. On the other hand, her statement has drawn even more attention to her alleged role in Diddy's inner circle, effectively making her a central figure in this ongoing saga. It's a risky move and one that could backfire spectacularly if the allegations against her are proven true. But if Christina is innocent, as she claims, her statement could be the first step in reclaiming her narrative and shifting the focus away from her and back onto Diddy.
Potentially, it could be a conflict with the client, right? A disagreement. They just don't get along. The communication is poor. They don't agree on defense strategy. It could be a conflict with one of the other lawyers. Obviously, seems like Agnifilo is the lead on this case, although Rico was certainly his 1B.
But here's the thing. Christina's statement has also raised questions about her motivations. Is she genuinely trying to set the record straight? Or is this a strategic move designed to protect herself as the legal battles surrounding Diddy intensify? And what about the other lawsuits that have named her as a defendant? Will her statement have any impact on those cases, or will it simply add another layer of complexity to an already complicated situation?
And I know obviously there's other lawyers on the case. Obviously, a lot of the victims are female. They're going to want female lawyers on the defense team, especially during some of the aggressive cross-examination. That tends to be the conventional wisdom when you're dealing with victims who are alleged victims of assault or abuse. And then it could be a conflict with one of the victims themselves. Maybe Agnifilo, maybe Rico consulted with them or even represented them.
One thing's for sure, Christina Corman's story is far from over. As the lawsuits continue to unfold and Diddy's criminal trial approaches, all eyes will be on her to see what she does next. Will she stand by her former boss, or will she distance herself from him entirely? And how will her statement affect the broader narrative surrounding Diddy and the allegations against him? These are the questions that everyone is asking, and the answers could have far-reaching implications, not just for Christina, but for everyone involved in this tangled web of accusations and counterclaims. And let's not forget the role of public opinion in all of this. Christina's statement has been met with a mix of reactions, from those who believe she's being unfairly targeted to those who see her as complicit in the alleged wrongdoing. Social media has been ablaze with speculation, with some users dissecting her every word and others questioning her timing. It's a classic case of trial by public opinion, and Christina is right in the middle of it.
I think it has to be the defense, the consent, because, look, sometimes you can argue that this activity never happened, right? It wasn't me, defense. But this is not your typical assault case. There are a lot of people there, right? There are people that are arranging the workers. There are people that are setting up lights and cameras, booking hotel rooms. Obviously, Diddy has a large entourage.
But here's the thing. Public opinion can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can help Christina build a narrative of innocence and victimhood, especially if she can present evidence to support her claims. On the other hand, it can also turn against her in an instant, especially if new allegations or evidence come to light. It's a delicate balancing act, and one that Christina will have to navigate carefully if she wants to come out of this with her reputation intact. So where does that leave us? At this point, it's impossible to say for sure what the future holds for Christina Corman. But one thing is clear, her decision to speak out has added a new layer of intrigue to an already explosive story. Whether she's a victim or a villain, or something in between, remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, this is a story that's far from over, and you can bet that everyone will be watching closely to see what happens next. Stay tuned, because this is one saga that's only just beginning.
Jay-Z is speaking out this morning after the civil suit accusing him and Sean Diddy Combs of rape was dropped. NBC's Chloe Malas is here with more.
As Christina Corman's statement continues to stir controversy, viewers are left with more questions than answers. Do you believe Christina's claims of innocence, or do you think there's more to her story than meets the eye? And how will her statement impact the ongoing legal battles surrounding Diddy? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on this unfolding drama. Until next time, stay curious,